Welcome back to the garage, everybody. Hello, Kieran.
Hello.
We are here today having a look at the scooter. What the hell is this? It's a Suzuki Address 110.
110.
And we had a question about how to remove the front and back brake levers, which we have done. So we're going to explain how we did that. Now the question did say levers, and I assume what they meant was these parts, because these are the levers. If the question related to all the gear inside, then I'm sorry, but this is probably not going to answer this question too well. But this one is about these levers, so let's show you how we did it now. The first step in this job then is to remove the front panel, and that's easily done. The screws for that are around on this side, and they live one there, just on that corner, and one matching over there on that corner. And once you've removed those screws, it's just a case of pulling this forward in this direction. That's not the best explanation, but we do already have a video explaining how to do this in depth. So if you need to remove the front panel and you're struggling, go and watch that video first and you'll get to this point. When you are at this point, it is helpful if you can move these plastics up at the top. So what we've done here is taken the wing mirrors off, and we needed a 14mm spanner to do that, so they're removed. And then there are some screws
Around the back.
kicking around the place. So there was a screw in there, and there was a screw in there, and then I didn't see these, but Kieran said there were some more screws. Yes, there they are. So there's a screw there and a screw there, so that has been removed. And then around the front here, underneath the headlight, there was a screw in there, and then up here on this slotted channel there is a different type of screw up there, and what that does is it controls the angle of the headlight. So try and make a note of where your headlight is before you remove that, but it is necessary to remove that in order to move these plastics. So that's all the screws, which allows the plastics to be a little bit free, which means you can sort of get access with your tools in and around these parts here. So we'll have a look now at the brake levers. Okay then, so this lever over this side controls the front brake, and this is the easiest one to remove. It's quite simple. Moving the plastics out of the way, you can see we have this screw type thing with the Phillips type head on it, and then on the underside was this nut, so that was down there on the underside. That was a 10mm, I believe, although Kieran might check that for me while I explain some other things. There you go. So it was a case of putting a screwdriver on to here, and then the appropriate spanner to remove the nut from the bottom. This then comes out and can go somewhere safe.
I can confirm 10 millage.
It is a 10mm. Excellent, thank you. So with that removed, it's just a case of pulling the lever off, and that's that. So if you've got a replacement, obviously putting the replacement on is just the reversal of what we've just done. You put the lever in there and all the bits back together, and that's that one. So let's move over and do the rear brake. So the rear brake was a little bit trickier.
It's a bit of a fiddly mistress.
It's a fiddly mistress, and that's because it's cable operated rather than hydraulic operated, so there is a cable in there as well. And did break this lever in getting it off. So I hope you all appreciate this.
Nugget of something there.
Yeah, a section came off. It's just sort of plastic, I think. While we're at it, if you are needing a replacement for this lever, there's the part number 39J20MH1.
Like the soft drink.
So to get this off, we obviously had the plastics out of the way, and then we had to remove this little nubbin that the wing mirror attaches to, just so we could move this out of the way. And then, yeah, there, that's that piece there. And what did we have here, Kieran? We had...
This was a bolt and 8mm both top and bottom, which can be a bit of a nuisance when they're both the same and you've only got one suitable spanner.
Okay, so that was in there like that. I can show that. And then the bolt went down through the top, so in that direction, and then the 8mm nut was on the underside, so it's a case of removing those. Still holding the lever on after you remove that is the brake cable itself, which, if you can see that, I'm not sure, there's the nubbin there, and that slots into that hole just there. So when you pull the lever, it pulls the cable.
Shouldn't make that sort of noise.
No, that was my noise, not the bike's noise. And removing that, it would have been simpler if we had detached the rear brake over at the rear brake, but we couldn't be bothered doing that. So all I did was I sort of turned the lever over a little bit and then manipulated it so that the cable came out of it and lifted it away. So that will become self-evident when you have a go at that, I think.
Might be just a little tricky to then put it back on.
Yeah, well that's what we're going to find out now.
Lever.
Bike, lever. We're going to reintroduce you, and the way to do that is to slot it onto the end of the cable here, which is quite tight against this, so you might struggle to get this back on. So what we've done is we've headed around the back here.
Hello.
And we've slackened off the adjuster nut for the rear drum brake. We're not taking it off, we've just slackened it right off. And what we can do now is if we push that all the way forward as far as it will go, and then head around here, you can see that we've now got, you know, what's that? An inch, old school inch, or for you Europeans, that's maybe about 2 centimeters of cable sticking out.
About that much.
Yeah, which needs to go into that round recess there. So it's a case of, try and do this one-handed. We'll see how we go. So, there we are. It's actually gone on, and you can see, Kieran, you can release that now, that the lever is back in position. So it will be a case now of putting the bolt through the top and the nut back on the bottom, and then winding the adjuster nut back to where it was in the first place. Just remember though, before you go for a ride, just make sure that your rear brake, this is the rear brake, make sure that your rear brake is functioning properly here. So we've put the bolt back into the lever and winding that through. Kieran's going to attempt to get the nut onto the bottom of that. Yes, this looks fiddly, and that's because it is fiddly. It's not a job if you've got big fat sausage fingers like me. Hence, Kieran's doing it with his...
Got my dainty princess fingers
He's got
involved.
his princess fingers and his mechanic's fingernail. So, helpful if you've got one of those, but that's the idea there. So we're going to tighten that up, not too tight, or you won't be able to use the brake lever. So just work that out as you fix it back on. That's back on then, and it was a little bit unusual in that you have to tighten the top one down and then the nut independently of each other. It seems to be that they don't clamp the lever, as it were. They're two independent things. So all we've done is tighten this one and then tighten that one separately, and that's basically fine. So we're going to go over to this side now. We've just put the lever in place but not any of the fixings. So you can see here I have the lever in my hand, and here I am putting the lever back onto the bike. Kieran's dropping the little widget and what's it, I don't know what you'd call that, it's not really a bolt as such, but we're going to drop that down through there.
Scolt.
A scolt? A screw bolt?
Screw bolt.
Screw bolt. So I'm going to drop that down in there and put the nut on the bottom.
Some wiggles required.
Got that lever back on then. It was like the other one in that you screw down the scrolt or whatever we called it from the top and then put the nut on independently. And we think that's done so that you can't over tighten it and stop the brake working. So Kieran's now putting the little nubbins back on for the wing mirror. That was a 14, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
And then it's just a case of putting all the screws back into all the plastics and putting the front cover on, which goes up like that. Again, that's in the video of how to remove and reinstall that, so we're not going to go over it. So I think we've more or less done that job. Yeah, we're just going to put everything back together. We'll not explain that, because if you've got this far, you probably know how to do that. So thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. As ever, remember to like if you like this video, leave us a comment if you need to know anything else, or if you just want to say hello, and subscribe, because we do all sorts of stuff like this, and that might be of use to you. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see. See you next time.